Hello, this is the next story in the series Malgudi Days by R.K. Narayan, one of the renowned short storytellers of South India of the last century. This story is titled Leela's Friend. The last one we had was A Willing Slave, which we finished some days back. There has been a gap. Now, today I am taking up the thread, and today's story is titled Leela's Friend. Siddha was hanging about the gate at a moment when Mr. Shivashankar was standing in the front veranda of his house, brooding over the servant problem. "Sir, do you want a servant?" Siddha asked. "Come in," said Mr. Shivashankar. As Siddha opened the gate and came in, Mr. Shivashankar subjected him to a scrutiny and said to himself, "Doesn't seem to be a bad sort. At any rate, the fellow looks tidy." "Where were you before?" he asked. Siddha replied, "In a bungalow, sir, in the doctor's house." "What is his name?" "I don't know, master," Siddha said. "He lives near the market." "Why did they send you away?" "Oh, they left the town, master," Siddha said, giving this stock reply. Mr. Shivashankar was unable to make up his mind. He called his wife. She looked at Siddha and said, "He doesn't seem to be worse than the others we have had." Leela, their 5-year-old daughter, came out, looked at Siddha, and gave a cry of joy. "Oh, Dad, I like him. Don't send him away. Let us keep him in our house." And Dad decided it. Siddha was given 2 meals a day and 4 rupees a month. A rupee is a money, coin. And the money in India is called rupee. And 4 rupees in those days was a lot of money. Good enough wage for a servant. So 4 rupees and plus 2 meals a day. So he didn't have to spend any money on his food. Plus he had 4 rupees for his personal requirements. Maybe to buy soap or to buy whatever. And in return for this remuneration, he washed clothes, tended the garden, ran errands, chopped wood, and looked after Leela. So it was a good remuneration for Siddha, and for 2 meals and 4 rupees a day. 4 rupees a month and 2 meals a day. He would wash clothes in the house. He would take care of the garden. He would tend the garden. He would run errands. He chopped wood for the fireplace and cooking, and looked after Leela. "Siddha, come and play," Leela would cry. And Siddha had to drop any work he might be doing and run to her as she stood in the front garden with a red ball in her hand. His company made her extremely happy. She flung the ball at him and he would throw it back. And then she said, "Now throw the ball into the sky." Siddha clutched the ball, closed his eye for a second, and threw the ball up. When the ball came down again, she said, Now this has touched the moon and come. You see here a little bit of the moon is missing. So this ball has touched the moon and it has come. See, then the ball, this is dot here, this is the moon sticking here. When Leela keenly examined the ball for traces of the moon and said, "I don't see any mark in it." "You must be very quick about it," said Siddha, "because it will all evaporate and go back to the moon." Now hurry up. He covered the ball tightly with his fingers and allowed her to peep through the little gap. Ah, yes, said Leela, I see the moon. But is the moon very wet? Certainly it is, said Siddha. What is it? What is in the sky, Siddha? God, said Siddha. If we stand on the road and stretch our arms, can we touch the sky? See, the Leela is asking, if we stand on the road and stretch our arms, can we touch the sky? Not if we stand on the road here, he said. But if you stand on a coconut tree, then you can reach the sky. Have you done it? Leela asked. Yes, yes, many times, said Siddha. Whenever there is a big moon, I climb a coconut tree and touch it. Oh, does the moon know you? Yes, yes, very well. Now come with me. I will show you something nice. They were standing near the rose plant. He said, pointing, you see the moon there, don't you? Yes. Now come with me. And he took her to the backyard. He stopped near the well and pointed up. The moon was there too. So Leela clapped her hands and screamed in wonder. The moon here, it was there. Here it is. I have asked it to follow us about. Leela ran in and told her mother, Siddha knows the moon. At dusk, he carried her in his hand and she held a class for him. She had a box filled with catalogs, illustrated books, and stumps of pencils. It gave her great joy to play the teacher to Siddha. She made him squat on the floor with a pencil between his fingers and a catalogue in front of him. She had another pencil and a catalogue and commanded, now write. And he had to try and copy whatever she wrote in the papers of her catalogue. She knew 2 or 3 letters of the alphabet and could draw a kind of cat and crow. But none of these could Siddha copy even remotely. The cat or the crow or the ABC. She said, examining his effort, is this how I have drawn the crow? Is this how I have drawn the bee? She pitied him and ridiculed ridiculed his efforts to teach him, ridiculed her efforts to teach him. But that good fellow, though an adept at controlling the moon, was utterly incapable of plying the pencil. Consequently, it looked as though Leela would keep him there pinned to his seat till his stiff, inflexible wrist cracked. So this one is a little more narrow. He sought relief by saying, I think your mother is calling you to dinner. Leela would drop the pencil and run out of the room, and the school hour would end. After dinner, Leela ran to her bed. She had to be ready with a story. Siddha had to be ready with a story. He sat down on the floor near the bed and told incomparable stories of animals in the jungle, of gods in heaven, of magicians who could conjure up golden castles and fill them with little princesses and their pets. Day by day, she clung closer to him. She insisted upon having his company all her waking hours. She was at his side when he was working in the gardens or chopping wood, and accompanied him when he went on errands. One evening, he went out to buy sugar, and Leela went with him. When they came home, Leela's mother noticed that a gold chain Leela had been wearing was missing. "Where is your chain?" She asked. Leela looked into her shirt, searched, and said, "I don't know." Her mother gave her a slap and said, "How many times have I told you to take it off and put it in the box?" "Siddha, Siddha," she screamed a moment later. As Siddha came in, Leela's mother threw a glance at him and thought the fellow already looked queer. She asked him about the chain. His throat went dry. He blinked and answered that he did not know. She mentioned the police and shouted at him. She had to go back into the kitchen for a moment because she had left something in the oven. Leela followed her, whining, "Give me some sugar, mother, I'm hungry." When they came out again and called, "Siddha, Siddha," there was no answer. Siddha had vanished into the night. Mr. Shivishankar came home an hour later, grew very excited over all this, went to the police station and lodged a complaint. After her meal, Leela refused to go to bed. "I won't sleep unless Siddha comes and tells me stories. I don't like you. Mother, you're always abusing and worrying Siddha. Why are you so mean? But he has taken away your chain. Let him, it doesn't matter. Tell me a story," Leela said. "Sleep, sleep," said mother, attempting to make her lie down on her lap. "Tell me a story, mother," Leela said. It was utterly impossible for her mother to think of a story now. Her mind was disturbed. The thought of Siddha made her panicky. The fellow, with his knowledge of the household, might come in at night and loot them. She shuddered to think what a villain she had been harboring in the house all these days. It was God's mercy that he hadn't killed the child for the chain. "Sleep, Leela, sleep," she cajoled. "Can't you tell the story of the elephant?" Leela asked. "No," said the mother. Leela made a noise of deprecation and said, "Why should not Siddha sit in that chair and tell me the story?" "Mother, mother, don't answer the question," Leela said a moment later. "Siddha is gone because he won't be allowed to sleep inside the house just as we do. Why should he always be made to sleep outside the house? Mother, I think he is angry with us." By the time Shivashankar returned, Leela had fallen asleep. He said, "What a risk we took in engaging that fellow. It seems he is an old criminal. He has been in jail himself half a dozen times for stealing jewelry from children. From the description I gave, the inspector was able to identify him in a moment." "Where is he now?" asked the wife. "The police know his haunts. They will pick him up very soon. Don't worry." The inspector was furious that I didn't consult him before employing Siddha. 4 days later, just as father was coming home from the office, a police inspector and a constable brought in Siddha. Siddha stood with bowed head. Leela was overjoyed. "Siddha, Siddha," she cried, and ran down the steps to meet him. "Don't go near him," the inspector said, stopping her. "Why not?" she asked. "He is a thief. He has taken away your gold chain." "Let him. I'll have a new chain," Leela said, and all of them laughed. And then Mr. Shivashankar spoke to Siddha, and then his wife addressed him with a few words on his treachery. They then asked him where he had put the chain. "I have not taken it," Siddha said feebly, looking at the ground. Why did you run away without telling us? Asked Leela's mother. There was no answer. Leela's face became red. Oh, policeman, leave him alone. I want to play with him. My dear child, said the police inspector, he is a thief. Let him be, Leela replied. I want to play with him. What a devil you must be to steal a thing from such an innocent child, remarked the inspector. Even now it is not too late. Return it. I will let you off, provided you promise not to do such a thing again. Leela's father and mother too joined in this appeal. Leela felt disgusted with this whole business and said, leave him alone. He hasn't taken that chain. You are not at all a reliable prosecution witness, my child, observed the inspector humorously. No, he hasn't taken it, Leela screamed. Her father said, baby, if you don't behave, I will be very angry with you. Half an hour later, the inspector said to the constable, take him to the station. I think I shall have to sit with him tonight. The constable took Siddha by the hand and turned to go. Leela ran behind them, crying, don't take him, leave him here, leave him here. She clung to Siddha's hand. He looked at her mutely, like an animal. Mr. Shivashankar carried Leela back into the house. Leela was in tears. Every day, when Mr. Shivashankar came home, he was asked by his wife, any news of the jewelry? And by his daughter, where is Siddha? So the wife was more worried about the chain, and Leela was more worried about Siddha. They still have him in the lockup, though he is very stubborn and won't say anything about the jewelry, said Mr. Shivashankar. Bah, what a rough fellow he must be, said his wife with a shiver. Oh, these fellows who have been in jail once or twice lose all fear. Nothing can make them confess. A few days later, putting her hand into the tamarind pot in the kitchen, Leela's mother picked up the chain. She took it to the tap and washed off the coating of tamarind on it, and it was unmistakably Leela's chain. When it was shown to her, Leela said, give it here. I want to wear the chain. How did it get into the tamarind pot? Mother asked. Somehow, replied Leela. Did you put it in? Asked mother. Yes. When? Long ago, the other day. Why didn't you say so before? I don't know, said Leela. When father came home and was told, he said, the child must not have any chain hereafter. Didn't I tell you that I saw her carrying it in her hand once or twice? She must have dropped it into the pot sometime. And all this bother on account of her. What about Siddha's mother? I'll tell the inspector tomorrow. In any case, we couldn't have kept a criminal like him in the house. Wow, that is a story. They still think he's a criminal because they thought he is a criminal and took him to the police. But then the child later told that, oh, I must have put, it's a child, she doesn't even know about it. So she has been playing, she has got the chain in her hand somehow, removed it from her neck. And while playing, it has been dropped into the tamarind pot, the jar. And she doesn't remember it. She doesn't know that it's a chain, it's gold, it's valuable, and etc. So that's the story. I hope you liked it. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Another story, another day. Bye.